The morning sunlight spilled through the trees like liquid gold as Cale stood on the porch of his countryside home, cradling a mug of steaming coffee. The air carried a crispness that hinted at the approaching autumn, mingled with the earthy aroma of freshly turned soil. Beside him sat Solace, his loyal black Labrador retriever, who watched the world with alert, intelligent eyes. Life in Briarwood Hollow was simple but fulfilling, a sanctuary for Cale after the heartbreak of losing his wife, Nira, 3 years ago. Solace had been Nira's gift, a scrappy little pup Cale had found trembling by the roadside during a fierce winter storm. Over the years, Solace had grown into an unshakable companion, his unwavering loyalty a source of strength for Kyle. Their bond was forged in countless shared moments, quiet walks under starlit skies and lazy evenings by the fireplace. One fateful afternoon, their peaceful routine was shattered. Kyle was in the barn repairing a sagging fence when a piercing cry echoed through the air, followed by Solace's frantic barking. Dropping his tools, Kyle sprinted toward the commotion, his heart thundering in his chest. To his horror, smoke billowed from the far side of the barn. Flames licked hungrily at the hay bales stacked against the wooden beams. Kyle froze as he spotted a litter of kittens huddled together, their tiny forms trapped by the encroaching fire. Before Cale could react, Solace leaped into action. With a determined bark, the dog darted toward the blaze. "Solace, no!" Cale shouted, his voice cracking with fear. But Solace didn't falter. His sleek black form disappeared into the thick, choking smoke. Moments later, Solace emerged, a soot-covered kitten clutched gently in his jaws. Kyle rushed to take the kitten, placing it safely on the grass before Solace turned and dashed back into the inferno. One by one, he brought the kittens to safety, each rescue more harrowing than the last. By the time the flames were extinguished, all the kittens were alive. But Solace collapsed, his body scorched and his breaths labored. Kyle wasted no time. Scooping Solace into his arms, he drove straight to the veterinary clinic in the nearby town of Elmsbrook. Dr. Lyric Vane, the skilled and compassionate veterinarian, met them at the door. Her brows furrowed as she examined Solace, her hands gentle but swift. "He's incredibly brave," Lyric said softly, her voice steady despite the urgency in her movements. "But the burns and smoke inhalation are severe. We'll do everything we can." Cale nodded, his throat tight with emotion. He stayed by Solace's side, refusing to leave the clinic even as the hours stretched into night. Lyric worked tirelessly, administering medications and carefully treating Solace's wounds. Over the next few days, Solace's condition stabilized, but his recovery was far from certain. Kyle visited daily, bringing Solace's favorite blanket and speaking to him in soft, reassuring tones. "You're a hero, boy," he whispered, stroking the dog's fur. "You saved them. You saved them all." The kittens, now safe, found temporary refuge at the clinic. Lyric's young niece, Ilara, took a particular liking to a fiery tabby she named Ember. The kitten's bold, adventurous spirit reminded Ilara of Solace, and the two formed an instant bond. Despite everyone's best efforts, Solace's health began to decline. Though his burns healed, the ordeal had taken a toll on his heart. One evening, Lyric sat Cale down, her expression heavy with sorrow. "Cale," she began gently, "Solace is in pain. His heart condition is worsening. We've done everything we can, but it might be time to let him go." Cale's heart shattered at her words. He spent the following days by Solace's side, cherishing every moment. Memories of Nira filled his mind, her laughter and love entwined with the dog she had brought into his life. On a quiet autumn evening, with the clinic bathed in golden light, Kyle made the agonizing decision to say goodbye. Cradling Solace close, he whispered through tears, "Thank you, my friend, for everything." As Lyric administered the injection, Solace passed peacefully, surrounded by love. In the weeks that followed, Cale's grief was profound. The house felt unbearably empty without Solace's presence. But the playful antics of the kittens, now thriving, offered small moments of solace. Ember, the feisty tabby, often curled up beside him, her purring a quiet comfort. Lyric continued to visit, her warmth a balm to Cale's aching heart. One afternoon, she suggested he consider adopting another dog. Not to replace Solace, she said gently, but to honor him. There are so many who need love, just like he did. Kyle hesitated, but eventually visited the Elmsbrook shelter. Among the hopeful faces, one timid golden retriever caught his eye. Her name was Saren, and her gentle demeanor struck a chord deep within him. Kyle brought her home, renaming her Lyric in quiet homage to the vet who had cared for Solace. Lyric quickly became a source of joy in Cale's life. She bonded with the kittens and brought energy back to the farmhouse. Together they resumed the routines Solace had loved: long walks through the fields, cozy evenings by the fire, and quiet mornings on the porch. As the seasons passed, Cale found himself more involved in the Briarwood Hollow community. He shared Solace's story at local events, inspiring initiatives to improve animal welfare. Lyric spearheaded campaigns to support the shelter, and Ilara organized fundraisers with Ember by her side. On quiet evenings, Kyle would visit Solace's grave beneath the old oak tree, sharing updates about Lyric and the kittens. He spoke of the love that had returned to his life in unexpected ways, the friendships he had formed, and the hope that had blossomed from loss. One snowy afternoon, as Lyric played in the distance, Cale stood by the grave, his heart full of gratitude. "Thank you, Solace," he whispered. "You'll always be my hero."